Hi, my name is Jaromir and welcome to the second video. I will show you now how to deploy your lab. It's super easy, you will see. And because we already have the files and folders created from the first steps we covered in the first video, we will just right click on the deploy and run with PowerShell. Before I will do it, I will just tell you, hey, I already have some different lab here. I also created with the My tool, and it has just the different prefix, and this is how I differentiate between the different labs. Let me show you what I mean. So just right click on the deploy and select run with PowerShell. Again, you will see a UAC prompt to elevate the script, and now the script will run. It will check if everything is installed, like Hyper-V, if the PowerShell module for the Hyper-V is installed, and it will now create your switch. If it already exists, it will skip it, and you can see that the switch and even the DC will be created with something I call prefix. So now the DC is imported, and I'll show you soon where is it imported from, and it's renamed to this prefix. So let's take a look what the DC is and how it happened to be here. So in the lab folder, during the first two steps, and you saw it in the first video, we created a DC on the background and configured everything. So the virtual hard drive for the DC was also already created, and now this DC is just a checkpointed DC, so we are able to roll back every change we do since now. So there's a snapshot in the DC, and this way it's super fast to deploy. And if you don't like the lab, to clean up and to be in the consistent state, and you can be in a few minutes in a consistent state again. So let's wait for the script to finish, and I will just explain what's happening. So what's happening now, the machine is now started. Let's take a look. We should see it in the summary. So we can see this machine is started, but still the script is returning some red errors. Okay, this is because we need to wait for Active Directory to come up. And this is the feature, I would say, because I didn't figure out how to output this into the null. So I always see these red lines. If someone knows, let me know and I will fix it in the script. So we need to wait now for the Active Directory to come up. I'm using PowerShell Direct. You can see now it's up. PowerShell Direct can connect directly to the VM and then push some command to the VM, and this way I was able to query Active Directory computers, and if I see that something is returned, I know that the Active Directory is up and online. Now it's making tools disk online. What's tools disk? Tools disk is a disk we creating in the first video, and it was created in the background. I just mentioned in the last video that whatever you will copy into the tools folder, and there was a folder tools VHD, it will be automatically added to tools VHD disk. It's already cleaned because we cleaned all the folders, but the tools VHD is here, and it contains just few things. It contains by default some automation script for the virtual machine manager installation, and it also contains the disk speed tool. So now it's creating and it's consuming the lab config, and I will cover lab config soon. So it's consuming something we call lab config, or I call lab config, and it's creating the VMs. It will create by default 4 VMs, S2D1, S2D2, S2D3, and S2D4. These VMs will be nano servers because I'm using a parent disk called WinServer 2016 Nano, generation 2 VHDX. See, this is located here, and it's creating differencing disk from this one, and it domain joins the machine. And domain joins the machine that I do, or the script will connect to the domain controller using PowerShell Direct, create a blob file, open the blob file, extract the information, inject it into the answer file, and then close the VHD. And this way, it's creating all the VMs. So you can see if you take a look at the configuration of S2D1 and into the settings, we will be able to see that we have so many drives as we specified, and we have the OS drive differencing, and it's differencing to the parent disk. And see, it's here, and it's a differencing virtual hard drive. And if we all take a look in these are actually 4 terabyte drives, but thanks to the dynamic disks, it's not consuming so much. It's consuming just 5 megabytes, and it's 4 terabytes. Okay, so let's hit cancel, and let's take a look into the lab config. So if you just double click lab config, nothing will happen actually. It will open just a notepad, but it's not very easy to read the code here. So it's much better is to just right click and say edit, and this way you will open the PowerShell ISE, or if it's already open, it will just open inside the PowerShell ISE, and you will be able to see what's in the code, and it's human readable. The colored one is the active one, the green one is what's commented. So the commented section is just description, and there is like a how to read it, what you can use, what you cannot use, or how to create your own lab. So you don't mind this. I'll maybe cover it a little bit later. So we need to cover all these 2 lines only. What is it? It's if you just run it like this, it will fill the what? Yeah, it will fill the variable called lab config. So let's take a look how the variable looks like. So let's see here. Lab config. So what we have in the lab config variable, we have a switch name, we have a domain name, we have VMs, we have DC edition, admin password, and a prefix. This is the way we filled it, right? If you take a look here, this is what we have here. So our password for the DC will be ls1 setup, and the username will be lab admin. You can also use the built-in administrator, that's for sure, and this is sometimes preferred because it's sometimes faster. The prefix, you can see the prefix is here, S2D hyperconverged. Switch name, if you go to the virtual switch manager, we will see that there is a switch name called hyperconverged lab switch, so it's just a connection of the prefix and the name of the switch. DC addition of the DC, and empty array for the VMs, which will be then filled with the next line. So what you can choose, what you can change, most of the settings here you cannot change. So lab admin and admin password cannot be changed after you do the things we covered in the first video, because when the DC is created, these variables are consumed. So you need to decide for the parameters, for some of the parameters, for example, before you run the second script, and it's described here because there's some more explanation. So like domain admin name, it's used during the second script, so there is no effect if you change it later. If you change your admin password now, the only effect is that the script will not continue because it will hang, because it will not be able to connect with the PowerShell direct. So some can be changed, some cannot be changed. What can be changed, for example, is the prefix, and this is what I usually change, and also, for example, the VMs. In here you can see that there is 1 to 4 and then some ugly script or ugly portion of the script. But if you choose to, for example, have instead of 4, you would like to have 100 machines, it's super easy to change. So it's just ugly way to write some configuration. And if you just take a look what's in the lab config.vms, you can see that there are 4 VMs. And if I would like to have a 100 VMs, instead of writing 100 lines, I just need to change this number. And if I'll select the lab VMs again, I can see that I have my 100 VMs. So quite a lot of machines. Okay, so that's lab config. Let's take a look back into the script. So it already finished. It took 8.5 minutes. And take a look what it did. So we have my RDC. We have 4 machines. These are nano servers. And in the next video, we will take a look what you can do with it and how to configure it to be to happen to be a cluster, S2D cluster. Okay, so see you in the next video.